I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We're live in 3, 2, 1.
Here we go. Once again, it is mighty cold here in the humble podcast studio.
Literally.
Here at in the bowels of the Gamekeeper building.
There you go.
Found a better term.
Yeah, I know. I thought we got him away from saying that.
I hadn't said it in a long time.
Yeah.
It feels like it today. It's so cold.
You hadn't been in the studio in a week or two, so.
Richie plays that music to your comments so often it should be your theme song.
Yes.
Mr. Haney.
I need to come up with one for him, for sure. So I'm looking around the table. Dudley, you look like you are just fired up, excited.
I'm fired up and excited.
I like that
what can
hat,
I say?
The Duck Man has returned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How was that?
I had a great time.
Nice.
Went to Arkansas with Rob and hunted with some of his buddies who quickly became instant old friends with me.
Oh, look at that.
And we had a blast. We went to hole-in-the-wall burger joints and killed ducks and cooked out.
Word on the street is you shot lights out.
Yeah.
I shot great.
Just so, yeah, wow, he even admits it.
Everybody get it on there. Dudley.
So, hey,
But I think
Dudley's great. Hey, walk softly, talk softly, carry a big stick.
That's
Walk
That's
softly,
true.
talk softly.
The last time I went hunting with Bobby was some of the worst shooting I've ever done. So I may have just jinxed myself to go right back to that.
Well, some people bring out the best in you, some don't.
That's true.
Well, the last few springs, you know, I've had some little bit of troubles, and it's good to see you coming into this spring with a strong performance in the fall.
I don't know what it is, but I think a lot of people can identify with this. When you have time to think about the shot, it's really easy to miss. But when you're taking these quick, jerky reflex shots,
Instinctive,
you know,
Yeah, you're right. No
I'm
doubt.
really
about
good at that.
it. Good.
Oh, the longer you have to think about it,
So
the
maybe
loss
you
of
should-
blood oxygen will affect your shooting. So
Right.
I'm really hit or
guilty there.
miss.
Yep.
I'm rarely average when
So
it
maybe
comes
you
to
should
shotgunning.
Try to start shooting the turkeys on the wing. Maybe you should flush them.
Yeah,
No.
flush them and
And
then
then shoot
shoot
them.
No,
No.
bad idea.
Well, we're glad you had a good time, Dudley. That's
That's
awesome.
good.
Look at Bobby. I'm so glad for you,
He's
Dudley.
green, isn't he?
And feathers. He's
Is
fine
that
unless
green or
it's
green
feathers.
head?
You know,
He gets feather envy.
We
Feather
have-
envy too.
we have
Feather
so
envy.
many guests in here that I'm envious of. I mean, you think about the last couple of guests that have been here.
Envy. What are those 7 deadly sins?
It
Envy is the first
and,
one.
and
I
I'm
think?
having to work on it.
He's not that.
I am really having to work on it. This,
feather envy.
This Caroline Winters.
Oh, I knew you were going to bring that up. He can't stand it.
Bobby can't.
It's just a 190.
Yeah.
And you know they've been
The romance takes over.
wearing the ducks out too the last week.
I heard about
Just
that.
saying
Yeah.
that.
Just wearing them out,
Just
Bobby.
saying.
So, Toxie, I'm looking at you. I hadn't seen you since last week, but you've been kind of missing for a week. I wanted to ask you about your guiding recently. Look like you've been spot on.
My guiding? That would be my gamekeeping, not my guiding.
Yeah,
That's right.
But several of your guests have done well.
They have. They did. And we had a chance to go. I actually went 4 times during the holidays. No luck. I did draw back in one. It's crazy how spooky they are, but my clothing must have made some noise or something. But I almost got a shot. So
That's frustrating.
Andy killed a really nice deer.
That's a real nice
Daniel
deer.
killed a really nice deer. Both
Yep.
of them with their bows. Great.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
granddaughter.
Oh,
Evie,
yeah. Heavy on the board.
killed a pig. So that was fun.
Yeah, Vandy's taxidermy bill went
Yep.
up that week.
It did.
Pig as in big buck.
Big buck.
buck,
Yeah,
big
nice,
buck,
a
Dan.
nice buck.
Nice
Yeah, it was a big body deer too. It was one of the huge
Yeah.
horns. But I mean, she just got that smile is the
Now I was
trophy.
fixing to say there's nothing like
That
that smile. It's 100%.
Yeah, and then we had some guests in from music friends of ours, and they had a great hunt too. So
Yeah, pretty productive couple of weeks.
Busy and productive.
yeah,
We might as well refer to this. Let this be the Blood on the Biologic segment brought to you by LS. Has anybody got anything else?
Honestly, I'm not seeing a whole lot.
I hadn't
think
heard of a
folks are-
lot lately myself.
so cold.
But I'm not in the mix.
Deer is
You
kind
know,
of winding
much.
down.
Brandon Bolton killed a good buck. Sure did. One of
Yeah.
the local guys here.
Yeah.
Kind of late rut. But deer's still chasing.
Yeah, food's a
Yeah, they're piling back in the fields.
Our brother Ken Ivy got a good
Oh,
buck.
Sure
Ken
did.
Ivy did kill a
Yeah.
good deer.
Said it was a fun woods hunt,
Yeah.
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 I don't think maybe I hadn't talked about. Have I talked about Hayden's buck yet?
Well, no, I don't.
wouldn't
know.
hurt if you did.
Yeah, it wouldn't
so.
hurt if I did. Yeah. Hayden killed a good buck.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It seems like you rattled it in, if I'm not mistaken.
Hey, don't give away all my secrets.
Yeah. Well, that's not a secret.
Oh man.
Rattling is not a. It's not.
It's a technique.
Yeah.
So let's
How many
get
deer
our,
have you rattled in?
None.
How many deer have I rattled in?
I don't
bunch.
know.
A whole lot.
Yeah, I don't. I don't.
I should take you one day.
Yes, you should. I'd like to go see it.
You know the key I've learned, the secret to rattling. Absolutely. Try it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
It's like if you hadn't tried it, you're never gonna kill one.
I
that
can
way.
tell you, it's primarily people use it in the Midwest and other places, but it works. There's a couple of days around in the South that it works really well.
I will just say as far as my memory serves me, I recall him rattling up more in this part of the world here and in Alabama than any of the rest of us. But he tries it a lot too. I do not rattle a lot.
I don't.
If I'm on the ground, I've got my horns with me.
So look, let's introduce our guest and get him
Talking
in the
about horns, that's
conversation
right.
as well. So, joining us through the magic of Zoom is Shawn, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, Lumsden.
All right.
Sounds correct.
Welcome to the show.
Nailed it. Thanks, guys.
Yes,
Happy
sir.
to be here.
And Shawn is from Georgia. He's got a farm over there. It's called the Flint River Plantation, if I'm not mistaken. I've been following this guy on Instagram for a long time, and you talk about a gamekeeper.
Yeah.
So, look, before we go into all that, Shawn, have you any experience over in Georgia rattling?
Yeah, so we rattle a little bit more, late October during the pre-rut. It seems to work decent, but honestly, we've never rattled in a 5-year-old plus. Typically it's your 2 and 3-year-olds. It's fun, it's exciting, but I personally don't have a lot of experience.
You need a bigger set of horns.
We need
to get the big ones in, you got to sound
whatever.
like the big boy.
Whatever.
We'll send Lanny over there and let him rattle for
Mister,
you.
he used that to jump in there, and now it's all gone to his head. I should have never bragged on him. I knew it when I said it.
Okay, I'll regress.
Hey, Mac, what about you? Have you got any blood on the biologic or anybody we need to give a shout out to?
Now, I did get a really cool picture from a guy that plants a lot of biologic down in South Alabama, and he sent me that his 80-year-old father-in-law shot this really nice deer with a longbow that he made and arrows that he made, and his name was Stormy Smellmeyer.
Smellmeyer.
In Macon County.
Made his
Alabama.
own bow, his own arrows, and went and stopped him one.
Macon County's not far from your old stomping ground. is it, Bobby?
I know all about Macon County.
That's what I thought. Wow.
It's a great.
What a
wildlife.
shout out to
I mean,
him. That man,
Any deer with a piece of equipment like that is a trophy.
unbelievable.
And then he was 80 years old.
80 years old.
You did that, didn't you, Doug?
80
Didn't you
years
make a
young.
bow
Yep.
and kill a deer with it?
I've never made my arrows.
Oh,
but
you made a bow.
Your bow you did though, right?
I have never killed a deer with a bow I've made. I have made a
You
bow.
attempted to kill one, okay?
No, I carry a recurve and a longbow.
Wow.
I'm not really ready to try to kill a deer with a bow I made.
I'm sorry. I guess I
No.
got that wrong. Mark that time code, Richie.
All right, let's look at Shawn here for a second. Shawn, you've tell us a little bit about the Flint River Plantation, and we're going to start with some questions, but I want to learn a little bit about it first.
Yeah, I want to hear some history.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my great grandfather purchased the first tracks back in 1853.
Wow.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
that makes my son Julian the 7th generation.
Wow.
And over the years, we keep adding on to it when we can, preferably contiguous tracks. And we just have a passion for wildlife habitat management and hunting and fishing and all things outdoors.
Boy, it's a beautiful property. The photos that you guys take, and looks like y'all work on trying to manage your does, your food plot. It looks like y'all do everything. You do it right.
We do any time of the year that we need to have a project going on or implement some practices, we do it. We have a timeline that we use, and it's almost our habitat Bible. And the beginning of every month, we make sure that we get a game plan together for the month and just execute. And it seems to be working.
Wow.
It looks like it is. I'm looking at this Instagram.
Absolutely. Of course
That's a good plan. I'm sure you guys have a really long-term plan, but having a monthly checklist, it sounds so. You guys kind of meet every month or so and discuss what needs to be done that month and have some check boxes, and you check them off.
Yeah, and it's just a family farm. It's my father. We have 2 employees. We have a farm manager, James, and Bill was our farm manager before him. That still works part-time, and my brother helps out, and we're just we work up in Atlanta for a fire protection company during the week, so we really just have the weekends. And my father just retired about 2 years ago, so he's been able to be down there full time, and that has made an incredible difference.
Man after my own heart there.
Yeah, what a legacy. 1853.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
7 generations. Yeah. Then to keep it all together.
Yeah, that's hard to find.
And it sounds like he doesn't want all the land in the world, just that's touching him.
Isn't that how it is?
Mm-hmm.
Shawn, you're supposed to smile at that.
Well, my dad had the saying, if there's a track 10 minutes down the road, it may as well be in Europe.
That's a good point.
How about that?
It makes it a lot easier when it's touching.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Easier to manage.
No question. It's
Keep
worth
up,
it's worth the premium. If you already have home base, it's worth the premium. I've learned that over the years. So if it's touching you, it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
When the price is right, we snag it if we can. And it's not always that we can, but fortunately we have neighbors that know what we do and what our passions are, and keeping wild places wild, as we have much of this land in conservation easements. And
that's awesome.
we, for most people, and definitely our neighbors, they definitely give us the right of first refusal every time. And I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people on in the last 6 or 8 months, and it's such a great story. What he just talked about too was how, I guarantee you, on top of all the things he's talked about, the neighbors appreciating what they do and cooperating with them adds so commensurately to the whole area. And how many people have we had on? It's just honestly refreshingly surprising to me, actually, that, we've had so many people where the neighbors work together. The neighbors are proud when they kill a deer. Very refreshing to see. And honestly, it makes such a big difference in the net result of all your work. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Chamberlain talks about that. Everybody buying in on the program,
Yeah, on a hunting club.
That's right.
The last place you'd expect people to be, getting along that great.
Right.
I thought it's just so refreshing to hear those things, those stories.
Cooperation. So look, Shawn, let me ask the first question. One of the things that I want to make sure we talk about, lead with, is shed hunting. And this time of the year, our deer here, so we're still hunting. Our deer still have antlers.
Man.
But I'm hearing stories already. A guy told me this morning about killing a deer in late December, 163-inch deer. The guy's name was Chase Herndon. Shot this deer with a bow, and he gets down to blood trail the deer, and there's one antler. Goes a little bit further, following the blood trail. There's the second antler. Keeps following the blood, and there's the deer.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Got to be something wrong, though.
Well, he said that was a little early.
What state?
This was in West Virginia.
Okay.
But
That's different.
But they start toward the end of December.
We see deer all the time with both sides in
March.
Turkey season.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Up to the 1st of April.
Yeah.
I have seen both sides. Not necessarily, big, heavy antlers, but I have seen, whatever, average 8-point racks.
Yeah, a
still.
rag buck, no doubt, in March.
In Alabama, not here.
So, Shawn, do you guys have like a plan to look for sheds, something that works for you guys over in that part of the world? In the South, it's harder for us to find them. You hear Mark and
it is harder to find them
guys
in the South.
up in Missouri and Iowa. They find every shed on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, we do. Bobby, I think it's, the first most important aspect of it is timing. You don't want to look too soon, because you don't want to push those bucks off your property, or be out of their comfort zone.
Great point.
And you also don't want to wait too long, because green up always gets here about twice as fast as I always expect it to. And then in certain areas you have rodents, especially squirrels. They'll chew them up pretty quickly. Fortunately, we don't have that problem. It usually takes those squirrels a few months to get to ours, but timing is crucial.
Toxie, do you find a lot of sheds, or are you finding them when you're turkey hunting?
I do run across them, but it's always like at food sources where you run across them, especially, where, they like winter green fields. We got some pretty big ones around here, like, the one, the Mississippi field up there is so big. I find them. Yeah, and unfortunately, I find them in tractor tires, and, that's not the way to find your sheds. Turned out, but I do, and I don't necessarily go looking for them. I tell you when else I find them. We don't have a really bad problem with them getting eaten up by rodents either. In fact, we find sheds that are several years old still that hadn't even been eaten on, maybe a little. But I find a lot of the previous years when we burn, actually, is probably when we find more than anything.
Yeah.
We're just covering more ground, and actually right behind the burn exposes them, really
They're
well.
shining.
Yep.
It's just so thick in the South,
Yes.
In the Midwest, you have a lot of little wood lots and pockets of cover, and oftentimes that's really not too thick compared to what we have down here.
Yep.
And I'm kind of like Toxie. I'm glancing around for them a little bit during turkey season and checking big openings and, like clover patches and things like that around a feeder. But I don't do a whole lot of just trekking, looking specifically for antlers. I'm usually burning and stuff at that time of the year. But I'm looking for them while I'm burning, know.
So, Shawn, do you walk the bedding areas looking for them?
So we do walk bedding areas. The first places and the places where we find them the most are green fields, and that's easy. That doesn't take a rocket scientist. But what I also do is I travel to these green fields first, and I step off the edges, maybe 10, 20 yards. It depends on visibility. For the vegetation, I want to be able to see the edge of the green field. So sometimes, it's right there, and sometimes you can get away with 30, 40 yards. And I circle those green fields one time, and typically I pick up one or two. If we're talking early March is peak antler drop for us. And then I'll circle them a second time. And when I circle them the second time, I pay attention to the trails leading to and from the food plot. And I walk down each trail ultimately as far as I can go. And I make sure to look 8 to 10 feet off each side of it, because you'd be surprised at when deer shed their antlers, you'd be surprised when they shake their head how far they can fly. And I find quite a few that are not right on the trail, like I used to find when I was a kid, and I would only find a few of them. I find most of them about 6 to 10 feet off the trail. And when I walk back, I just pick up that circle again, and I hit the next trail, and so on and so forth.
Have y'all ever looked like at creek crossings if a deer's got to jump? That's another good place to try to find them.
But he made a good point, just skirting the fields and doing some zigzagging on that edge where a deer may go there and lay down for a couple hours and just sit there and look around before they get up and go into the field. And that may be where you're going to find it.
Yeah, those big bucks, when you guys watch them, right before they come into a green field, they'll stand out there for up to 20, 30 minutes sometimes. And they do the same thing in the wintertime, not necessarily just during hunting season.
And then, we can use our own X Hunt app and really know where we've been, do some zigzagging and following those trails. And then you can jump over and find another trail and go down. So.
Yeah, that tracking feature on OnX is awesome.
It certainly is. And I tell you what, if you've got we're kind of getting off the subject just a little bit here, but on that tracking feature, recently I lost a pig, Lanny, but I was able to use that tracking feature to see where I'd been. Anyway, I really liked it for that.
To see him. No doubt about it.
Your daughter's been begging you to hunt since her little brother shot the big 8 last year. You've ran a fire, dissed the fields, got stuck, got unstuck. Planted food plots, fertilized, and prayed for rain. You move trees, limbed roads, even bought one of those fancy cell cameras.
So what's your excuse?
LS Tractor.
This is Lanny at the Gamekeepers of Mossy Oak. I've been shooting Nosler bullets as long as I've been wearing Mossy Oak. Nosler ballistic tip ammunition is made for knocking deer down right where they stand. Nosler's famous ballistic tip bullet is the key. It has controlled expansion and bone-crushing punch to turn a whitetail's lights out. Bring home more deer this year with ballistic tip ammunition from Nosler. Buy now at nosler.com.
Hey, have you noticed that the bigger, or the bigger the older deer, and the heavier antlers tend to drop them closer together, that you're able to find a match set but easier on the, I don't know if that's wives' tale or not, but my theory was like, when a heavy antler deer loses one side and he's all of a sudden out of balance for a little bit, it may throw the other one off sooner. But I don't know if you've noticed that or not.
Yes, sir. I've definitely noticed that. And for some reason, our bigger deer, especially our older deer with bigger antlers, they tend to drop later. I don't know what it is. It's something that we've noticed over the years.
Wow.
Do you find a lot of match sets?
We find anywhere from 6 to 8 a year, so not that many. And then, in terms of shed antlers, we find anywhere from 40 to 70 a year. And that's mainly just during those 6 weeks from February 15th is about where I start, and I end right there as turkey season's coming in, because let's be honest, I'd rather turkey
It's
hunt.
time to turkey hunt. That's right.
I've been watching Bobby's wheels turn this whole time, and he never brought it up, but he was going to offer to help if you look for him in April at any time. He was probably going to offer that up.
He's such a good guy.
But you got to watch him. He'll sneak in on you,
I would.
I mean, shed hunting and turkey scouting is kind of one and the same. It's that time of year where you need to be looking for both, really.
Yeah, it's so interesting though how these animals drop their antlers and it just starts all over again.
It does.
And within really about 8 months, they've
grown 100 inches. I mean,
in your case, 100 inches.
I mean, at least.
Also, it also points out it's not on necessarily the topic of
Hundreds.
finding sheds, but that a long time ago, a wise biologist reminded us when we were talking about the nutritional needs of these whitetail, especially bucks.
Yeah.
And he was saying, so if you had to cut your legs off below your knees every year and grow that back, that how much extra phosphorus and calcium that you would have to have in your diet than the average animal. Then you think about also, we talked about the amount of calories that a nursing mom doe has too. So you just think about the inordinate needs they have for that extra calcium and phosphorus in their diet to grow that back every year. And that's just that exhibits it when you find these, especially these bigger deer, they'd have to grow it back. It's amazing.
Didn't Bronson tell us they actually kind of go into osteoporosis when they're growing those horns?
It wouldn't
Something
surprise
like
me.
that.
It was something like that. It's pretty crazy.
I can't remember. We should revisit that.
Yeah, we need to revisit that
That's
with Bronson.
interesting.
Because I will butcher that up real bad.
Yeah. So Shawn, obviously, you I mean, if you're finding that many sheds, y'all are doing something right. But so on the backing back up during the hunting season, how many on y'all's property? How many does are y'all trying to kill, and when are y'all trying to get y'all's harvest done?
Oh, doe harvest, man. We take a doe any opportunity we possibly can.
That's my man.
I don't care. I don't care if it's opening day or the last day of the season. I killed my first one this year at 12 yards with a bow on opening afternoon, and I killed my last one the last day that I could hunt, which was last Saturday, or maybe two Saturdays ago, and killed her in the last 10 minutes of my season. So any chance we can, at any time we can, unless there's a target buck that I'm specifically hunting in that immediate area, we're taking does as much as we can.
Yeah. Y'all running a lot of cameras?
I have 10 Spartan cell cams that I run. We have to take around this year was 137 does for our minimum.
Wow.
That's work.
And we got to 130. So we were just shy, but I believe that equates to 95%. So
That's
an
pretty
A in my
good.
book.
That's a lot of work.
Really good.
A lot of work from people that know what you're talking about. It's a lot of
That's
work.
a lot of work.
That's a lot of healthy meals.
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
None of that would be possible if it wasn't for DMAP.
Mm-hmm.
And that has become a program that we subscribe to, and I don't know, we definitely couldn't manage for that quality if it wasn't for DMAP. I'm really thankful that we got into that program, and we've only been in it for 3 years now. So,
well, the
Wow.
data you collect is invaluable. All those numbers just come right back to you, and you can look at those numbers and base your management decisions for the next year from the year before. But it's really cool to see, the doe weights go up and things like that as you improve. You're improving the population, which in turn improves the habitat because they're not eating themselves out of house and home anymore.
and to your point, Dudley, we have a WMA that borders our whole northern property boundary. And I'm good friends with the manager on that WMA, and we chat at least once a month, mainly in regards to pig removal. But our average doe weights on our managed property, extensively managed, I may say, are 14 pounds heavier on average across all age classes.
Wow.
Compared to the WMA next door.
Compared to the WMA next door.
Wow.
And there's only, nothing against that WMA, absolutely not at all. But it's just him by himself that's managing it. He gets a little help here and there, but it's a 7,500 acre WMA. And man, to be able to manage for 7,500 acres, that's tough for one man to do.
Well, it's probably good you're so aggressive on your harvest too, because I'm sure they move from there to you. As you harvest a lot and you have more food, they're going to migrate. We see places here that we're seeing a crazy amount of deer right now. But I'm also feeding, those I talked about it earlier where I find sheds. It's a huge field that we plant, and this time of year is kind of the only food in the whole area. So I bet there's 3 times the number of deer on that property right now. It's not a huge place, but it's probably 3 times as many deer right now as they say the summertime or normally. And the food brings them in. I'm sure you deal with that and have to over harvest almost to keep your place in balance,
Absolutely. We work with a biologist that, for DMAP, for folks listening that don't quite know how it works, the way that we went about it is we signed up through the state agency, and we hired a whitetail wildlife biologist to work with us. And he did a survey. It's usually conducted late August to early September. We use the 14-day baiting method. And, after the survey is complete, he crunches all the numbers, and he provides a detailed summary report that shows our estimated sex ratio, our estimated density, our estimated buck age distribution. And he then makes a harvest prescription that is justified, that we then send to the Georgia DNR. And then they write us our prescription and give us the tags necessary, and we get to work right away.
That's so impressive.
Yeah. It really is.
It's interesting, like any public land around here, you don't have the problem with too many deer. And so I'm not sure how that is near you, but I would imagine that public land near you is not overpopulated. Am I wrong? I mean, do you think it's more of a habitat thing that's making those deer way less than you, or do you think it's like a population carrying capacity deal?
Yeah, that's a great question, Dudley. I like to think and tell myself that it's due to our management practices.
So your habitat manipulation.
Absolutely.
And harvest.
So the biggest things that we do is we stay on top of our timber stand improvement, and we keep those canopies opened up so that we can allow that sunlight to hit the ground, first and foremost. And then we manage it with prescribed burns, rotational every 2 to 4 years. depending on vegetation and growth. Then those are the two main things we do. And when we get to the point of where we can't do much else when it comes to TSI and prescribed burning, then we come in with supplemental protein in food plots. And we've been planting some summer clover plots. We planted the non-typical. It's been coming up great.
Nice.
And
my fave.
Yeah, so those three things have helped, and many other practices that we do, but those I like to think are the top. And then to Toxie's point, taking mouths off the landscape, that's you got to have that top quality forage for your bigger deer, and as much of it as they can eat.
For sure.
Reminds me a lot about the, and especially smaller ponds in bass management, is that if you mess around and let it get out of whack too far, it's almost impossible to bring it back in.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that they're so disciplined, they stay on top of it, is probably making a huge difference.
Yeah.
What
does an adult doe weigh over there, Shawn?
Well, it depends on age class, but our average, say 2.5-year-old, she's going to weigh around 90 pounds, give or take 5 pounds. Our 3.5-year-olds are going to weigh in the 102 to 107 range. I want to say 118, 120, and then our bigger deer, which could be your 4-year-olds, they're going to weigh up. I killed a 140.1 this year, which was my biggest doe in probably 5 years. We simply don't get does that big around us very often.
That's a burger baby there now.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Mac, have you got a question?
Yeah.
I do. So we recently got in with the DMAP program, and this seemed like a confrontational suggestion from a biologist, and I was curious if you had heard of this before, Shawn. So they recommended, so just say that this property is around 1,000 acres. They recommended that we kill 3 spikes that are 2 inches or less. Have y'all heard of that? I mean, has anybody heard that before?
Just 3 on 1,000 acres? That seems pretty insignificant.
And then how many does?
The doe number would be 20.
Yeah.
So 20 does, 3 spikes, and then we had a list of shooter older bucks. I just had never heard that about spikes and didn't know if anybody else had before.
No, Mac, I haven't. I have not.
I'm assuming that they're wanting you to shoot, the younger of the spikes. If they're saying 2 inches or less.
Right.
That's that spike that was probably born to a late bred fawn from the year before, most likely. And they're just probably thinking there's a study where, these bucks that came from a late bred fawn, it more often than not takes them another year or two to reach that full antler size compared to a fawn that was born from a doe that was bred during the original, rut. But to me, it's just shoot a doe. Let the bucks get older.
Well, if you're going to kill 20 does, unless you've got really experienced people like he is, you're probably going to kill 3 button bucks.
Yeah.
By mistake. Depends on who you have shooting, and you especially if you have guests, they just get excited. I mean, it happens.
It happens.
You're probably going to get a couple through osmosis that you didn't.
Yeah.
So they were saying that it was a sign of not enough nutrition that the spikes, their example was these aren't button bucks, they're 1.5-year-old spikes. And they said that this will allow for more bucks to come into the population than the standing lot of does and inferior bucks.
We asked Bronson specifically about this, and he said when you're trying to reduce your deer density, number 1, mature does. Primary target. Number 2, younger does. Then number 3, if you have to harvest, you want to harvest those type of bucks.
Yeah,
I think that's right.
That's exactly what he said. Yeah. And he was familiar with the study. Of going on.
Because that's what our NDWFP is doing some recommendations about that this year. Sure is. Talking to William McKinley, he was explaining that our deer density in Mississippi is still at an all-time high, and to increase quality of the deer herd and reduce possibility of disease transmission, we need to get as many out of the herd as possible.
Yeah, we need to shoot deer over here, Shawn.
Yeah, we do. Come on over. You sound like you're pretty good at it.
Yeah.
Our season's still in.
I think he's got his work cut out
Yep.
for him at Flint
Yep.
River Plantation.
Absolutely.
Well, Mac, I think that you could get ahead of that to where, if you take mouths off the landscape, what it is theoretically going to do is it's going to reduce the need for bucks to breed in a secondary rut.
Right.
And those fawns that are born later into the year are the ones that are going to be subject to malnourishment. They're going to be subject to higher mortality rates. And around here, we don't, even though it's fun to go after bucks that are coming back into rut with those estrus does that are coming back in, even though it's fun to hunt them, we don't really like to see that. We like for all does to get bred during the primary rut, if any way possible.
That is interesting. So you mentioned earlier about pigs. Have y'all got a lot of wild pigs over there?
We don't at all. Every time they get on our property, we go and we catch them right away.
Good for you. That's smart. So does that WMA have some pigs?
Much, much worse of a problem than we do.
Wow.
I'm seeing that and hearing that a lot, that our public lands are becoming more and more infested with pigs. And we need to try to be more vocal about trying to find a solution to that problem. It seems like a lot of us private landowners are doing a great job at it.
I cannot applaud you enough for staying on top of that one, probably more than anything, because first get them, that is the time to jump on it, and you can actually make a difference. Once they're I don't know what the word is, we're infested with them. And it's almost impossible to make a big dent at that point. They can reproduce so fast. The only thing saves us is that they do move. They don't really have a home, so they'll consume everything and then move on to another area. They kind of migrate to the farmland stuff, in late summer, and then, they go to the big hardwoods in the winter.
Yeah.
But stay on top of them.
Had the hog eye guys in last week?
Yeah.
And they said if you had 20 pigs on your property in 10 years.
Yeah, Lanny is Rain Man over here.
Oh, whatever. Just because I know how to do some basic math.
All you gotta do is listen. All you gotta do is listen to somebody else and quote them.
Yeah, he said that in 10 years that would be 1,153 pigs. I think that's what it was.
I think it was 1,083.
Whatever, it's close enough. It's a bunch of pigs.
The number I'd always heard was 2. Right now, 2 of sexually mature hogs, which I think is only 6 to 9 months. But 2 can become 500 in 5 years.
That'd be right. That's the same growth rate.
Yep.
Wow.
Now who knows? That's what I'd heard. So
yeah. So
it's a big number, and it spins out of control fast. So staying on top of them like that. The other thing that's smart too is that they can get trapped shy if you do it so much, and you're getting them when they first show up before that happens. That's also very smart.
So let's circle back to Dudley's comment about pigs on public land. Is that because there's limited access and hunts are only on drawn days or something? What's going on in your mind there?
There's obviously a lot of people hunting there, but the pigs still figure out how to find those areas. Like there's a lot of no hunting zones that they can retreat to that may be more for the folks that aren't hunters that are going to come look at birds and things like that, students. A lot of those are no hunting areas, and I walk through those a lot during the summer, and you just see pigs everywhere. But just little things like that, it just adds up, and they're taking over. And I don't think their budgets. I don't think their budgets can handle. It's expensive to try to remove
a lot of work.
Yeah,
a lot of work.
Shawn, last week we declared war on the pigs, and we're working with
big pig traps,
hog eye cameras, and we're going to teach people how that they've got stuff for whether you're, like yourself, that might need a trap that's up in the air that would drop, or just build a panel trap with an electronic gate. They've got something for all budgets. We'll be talking about that more or less, but you'll probably be interested in paying attention to that. Moultrie was first in feeders since 1979 and is the leader in total game management. They're taking feeding to another level with the new Ranch Series line of durable and versatile feeders, perfect for both wildlife and domestic livestock. So Dudley, you can feed your goats. Whether you're a deer hunter, a hobby farmer, a land manager, or a rancher, Moultrie has you covered with several kit options, including a rotating auger, broadcast, or a gravity kit. And these feeders are 300 or 450 pounds. They're big feeders. All right, so guys, Moultrie is offering our listeners a 15% site-wide discount at MoultrieFeeders.com. Use code Mossy Oak with a capital M, Mossy Oak, at MoultrieFeeders.com and get that 15% discount. Mac, you raising your hand. You got something to add?
Yeah, to shoot all those does and to keep that number in check, are you designating areas like destination food plots to not shoot does, or are you shooting them literally everywhere and any chance you get?
We shoot them anywhere and any chance we get, but most of us are bow hunters. I don't really like to pull the rifle out, but you absolutely have to if you're going to try to kill between, you know, 3 different clubs and, you know, say 15 to 20 different guys. If you're trying to kill 137 a year, you got to bust the rifles out. I was fortunate this bow season. I went 23 hunts where I killed 23 deer.
Wow.
And that was just, that's been my best year ever. 2 of them were,
yeah, that's some horns on that one for sure.
Yeah, 2 of them were a 6.5-year-old and a 7.5-year-old Pope and Youngs.
Wow.
Both my top target bucks. So it's not like I don't like hunting for bucks. I do. I like this is why we do it. And we've noticed a big change ever since we've started knocking these deer down. Our densities have dropped tremendously, and we're hoping now that we have 3 years behind us that these upcoming years are going to be more maintenance rather than catch up.
Have you noticed that your bucks move more during the rut than they used to?
Absolutely. They move more. They're more susceptible to calling.
Mm-hmm.
I called the one that the second one that I killed. He was a big 8-pointer and just huge bases, just such a beautiful deer. I called him in using a bleat, and that's one of my go-to calls. You know, we're talking about rattling, talking about using grunts. I use a bleat first and foremost. That seems to work wonders for me.
So what do you think you're simulating there? A doe that's like super hot, and she's like, come, where are you? Come find me. What's going on there with a bleat?
That, and you're just telling them that, hey, there's a doe over here.
Yeah.
I don't hear does bleating much though. I've heard a fawn get caught by a coyote and bleat.
It's hard to hear. I mean, I have, but not much either. But I would imagine it's not something you hear very readily. I mean, you don't hear a lot of bucks grunt necessarily. Certain times more.
Certain times, really.
Yeah. But you still can't hear that a long ways at all either.
If you're listening, you can hear does grunting a lot.
Very, but much
close.
more subtle than
very subtle, yeah. And I'll add that, you know, all those DMAP does and such you're shooting with your bow. That's the best practice ever.
Oh yes.
You know, you pass up everything to shoot 1 or 2 bucks a year with your bow versus being on a program where you're taking out does all the time. You know, shooting at real live targets. We were talking with Brody Swisher about that on a previous podcast. You want to become a fine-tuned archery hunter, you start trying to take out a lot of does. You'll learn real quick, you know, how and when to draw back at the right time. And
there's such a thrill to kill a big deer with a bow, but the greatest, I mean, you know, is running an arrow through one, a well-placed shot, whatever it is. So I still get sweaty palms over drawing back on a doe to
I
this
get
day.
toe up on every one of them.
Yep. Yep. It's still so much fun to just, you know, there's something about the archery side.
It really is.
You make a great point.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys, if you're not taking shots during the season and getting that practice in, when the time comes, you may be behind the 8 ball.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. And if you got to kill 130 does, you better get on it.
Oh my goodness!
How many of these deer duck an arrow of the 23? Or how many?
Sounds like none of them.
Yeah,
did.
I did miss one, you know, I aim for the heart every single time.
There you go.
And I pass up a lot of deer that are over 30 yards. I just don't take the chance. And I also don't take the chance at shooting them anything but broadside or slightly quartering away. I want to have that blood trail. I want to be able to get in and get out. I want to be surgical. I don't want to put my scent everywhere. These are the same areas that we're killing our big bucks in. Both of these deer, we killed does with our bow in these spots before we killed those bucks. So that was proof, or just happenstance, but I like to think it's proof that we were in there and we got in and got out and knocked a few off the list.
Definitely
He
proof.
sounds very disciplined in the way they approach their
No doubt about it.
No question.
Yeah,
I bet you don't shoot at a lot of cautious deer either. You know, that can lead, especially in the South, you know, the way they try to duck the arrow and, but you know, when they're cautious, sometimes the minute you pull the trigger on your bow, they're already running off.
Yeah, and I'm big on scent control. I know that there's people that think it's silly and they don't worry about it, but my wife washes all of our clothes in scent control, including our towels and everything. And I couldn't be more thankful, because that is one of the biggest reasons why I'm successful. And you know, a lot of people say, well, just hunt the wind. Well, I'd say 90% of the bucks that I've killed with a bow have come in downwind or pretty close to downwind. So I want that scent cone to be as small as possible. I know that you're not going to be able to eliminate human scent entirely, but you can drop that scent cone down substantially with some good scent control.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, how many times do you go seeing, especially if there's not a higher wind that's steady? If it's some, you know, the 3 to 5 mile an hour wind type thing, I can't tell you how many times I go and then exactly the direction where deer I know are coming from. Whew, and what in the world went on? Well, the wind, you know, thermals and it shifted. I mean, so as hard as you think you can just hunt the wind, you cannot unless you almost never go.
Yeah, that's
it
true.
happens, and especially morning hunts at daylight.
Oh yeah.
It's, at least I have learned certain areas have a prevailing thermal until wind picks up, you know. But I mean, to his point, you can't hunt the wind all the time. It's not going to happen. It's going to be different than you thought when you go in there.
Yeah.
I'm not the best at using scent control, but I do think it has its merits. Like, for example, if you wanted to go back and hunt that area the next day, you know, like you said, a deer can probably smell you if they try hard enough. But if you're using scent control, you're leaving less scent there. If you were going to try to come back again, you know, if the wind is right and all that, you can eat a sausage biscuit on the way to the stand, and you're leaving your scent there for a deer may come back, you know, that night and smell where you were, versus if you were using scent control, they may not be able to smell that you were there. So I think it kind of helps you for the next hunter. Or you know, not to booger up a spot nearly as quickly.
Yeah, and we're very keen when it comes to pressure management. Most of the big deer that we shoot are on the first or second or third sits that we have for them, and that makes, you know, making sure that you keep that pressure to a minimum in any way, shape, or form, anything you can. I think that's really important.
Everybody that we've talked to,
yeah,
aspires to that. It has been very successful at bow hunting. Everybody. I mean, that's just a given.
The Furminator is the industry's most versatile piece of food plot equipment, allowing plotters to do every step of the process, working the soil, adding seed and soil supplements, and compacting, from start to finish with a single implement. It's hassle-free by design. Set it for the seed size and simply drive the tractor, and the Furminator does the rest. Check it out at thefurminator.com.
Hey guys, Dudley from Gamekeepers here. I want to tell you about the all-new Gunner Dog Bowl. It's designed for home and built for travel. It's customizable, leak-resistant, light on weight, solid on durability, and rust-proof. Like other Gunner products, they're made in Nashville and designed for everywhere.
Shawn, y'all got any turkeys over there?
Bobby.
Here we go, Shawn.
Bobby, I told you it was coming.
My favorite subject. Yeah, we We do pretty good. We that's the number one game bird that we manage for, along with northern bobwhite quail.
Oh no,
Our
you got Bobby from
He
Hello
just passed out over there.
Yeah, we actually, my father, I guess it's been about 45 years now. He transformed our property from where we had, maybe one or two coveys on the whole tract. Now we have dozens. I think our last census was around 65 coveys, and those are pure wild birds.
That's incredible.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, sound the horns, Richie.
No doubt.
I mean, oh
That's
my
conservation in action
Yeah,
right there. So I guess y'all are familiar with the drip torch.
Oh yeah.
I've seen one.
Yeah, I
What,
bet so.
Do you guys try to burn some during the growing season? Have you gotten to that point yet?
We can stay on top of our areas pretty well on our rotation. Now, there have been times in the past where we see a tract that is absolutely unproductive from a turkey nesting and brooding standpoint that we will have a later growing season burn through that, and we'll actually go back 4 or 5 of us and we'll walk through it just to see if we burned up any turkey nests. We never have, not once. Knock on wood.
Wow.
What about trapping? Nest predators.
We trap intensively. We have 100 have-a-heart trap, so it's a live trap, and we have 100. I think we're up to 125 now, but we keep them running year round. We bait them, we rebait them, I should say, once a month minimum, and 365 days, 100 traps. What is that? 36,500 trap nights.
Yeah.
So we can stay on them pretty good, but that doesn't mean that we still don't have raccoons and possums all over the place.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
I'd like to know just a little more about what your place looks like. Flint River Plantation, is that uplands or bottomlands or both? What kind of pine versus hardwood, all of that stuff. What do you guys have over there?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. It is comprised mainly, so we're just right on the Flint River. So we do get some nice big bottoms that are just absolutely breathtaking, especially when a turkey is moving across them. But most of our property are uplands. We do have quite a few hardwood draws, which I feel like kind of hurts us a little bit from a quail and turkey production standpoint, because that's where a lot of those mesomammals like to hang out. Yeah, it's mainly uplands. We got a lot of mature loblolly and quite a bit of longleaf as well. We try to plant as much longleaf as we can. We don't really manage to make as much money on the timber as we can. We mainly manage for wildlife. So planting those large tracts of longleaf, and since it takes much longer for them to grow, it's in our best interest, and the wildlife we manage, it's in their best interest. But yeah, mainly upland, piney woods, hardwood draws, and decent sized bottoms.
Excellent.
These guys, it sounds like an incredible place.
Well, it sounds like we need a field trip.
And
It does.
Come on.
I'd love
to have y'all.
I'd love to learn more about how you guys benefit from the conservation easements.
That's what I was going to ask, Dudley.
A lot of folks can be scared of those because they're, it may mean that you're not allowed to do this or not allowed to do that, but it's keeping your family legacy. You're able to afford. I assume your tax rates are lower and things like that, but you're keeping developments off of your property. Am I going to mess up this word? Perpetuity.
Perpetuity. Yep.
That's exactly right. We definitely get tax breaks. It does lower the value of the land, naturally so, because it can't be developed. But that's what we're here to fight. We are here to keep wild lands wild. And you'd be surprised in central Georgia, where we're located, there's a lot of those wild lands left. And we feel like it is our duty, especially from our ancestors' viewpoint, where we need to make sure that property doesn't become developed. because the Flint River is just like most rivers. It's beautiful. It's attractive to a lot of folks that want to come down. We have hundreds of tracts north of us where they have subdivided it into 5-acre lots, and it's just that's not what we want, because we just can't manage wildlife on subdivided tracts like that.
No, and I guess the definition of rich can mean a lot of different things to people. I think the definition of rich of having a lot of land that's not going to be covered in houses and buildings and pavement, that's rich to me. So I have a feeling, and this may sound kind of weird, but when you're up in age, laying in bed and don't really, may not have but a year left, you're going to have a sense of fulfillment, and other people in your family. I don't know if you can say that somebody that has developed a lot of pavement and big buildings is going to have that much of a sense of fulfillment in their version of being rich.
That's very well said.
I tell you what, I kind of got a little chill bumps over here.
I mean,
he speaks from the heart. He's right.
I want a lot of people at my funeral someday, and so that's kind of what I want to do. And I see what that's what you guys are trying to do as well, is make a difference.
I think Shawn's crying, if I'm not.
Absolutely. No, Dudley, on that point, something that's really important to us is giving back more than we take. An example that just comes off the top of my head is we also love waterfowl, and we manage for wood ducks, and we have 30 wood duck boxes.
Nice.
And over the course of 21 years that we've had these boxes, we have successfully hatched around 4,000 wood ducks.
Wow.
And during that same amount of time, we've only taken around 550, I think is what the number is, which according to my math, that's for every wood duck we take, we give 9 back. And that to us is extremely important, and it's in our heart to do that.
That's leaving it better than you found it. That's what gamekeeping's all about.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'll tell you what, I like these folks.
Yeah, man. They're good people.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bobby, it's still all
Here
about
you go,
the feathers.
Sean. Here it comes.
You're so transparent.
No, I'm not.
If he had to slip that turkey question in there, and then the whole thing changed.
Yeah. No. He started smiling. Look at
Right.
it.
I've been smiling the whole time, looking forward to this. I've been a fan for a long time.
Well, there's a saying we have,
posts.
when every now and then you run into people that just quote unquote get it, and I would have to say that absolutely applies here.
Yeah, in 7 generations. That's just so rare to find.
I do want to say this, because sometimes I worry that, and we talk to people that have the resources in the place and are so successful at it, that maybe some other people gloss over, I can't compete, I can't do that. I mean, and my point, listening to him all day, I thought this from the moment he said like the DMAP program and how disciplined they are about that. It's like, even if you don't, you can aspire to all the same things he's talking about yourself in your own way, and still have a great life with it, and have a great property and great results through your gamekeeping. You don't have to measure up to anybody else, quite honestly.
No.
The biggest thing, a lot of us are just listening to details about what he's saying and learning from him. But the one thing everybody should listen to is the intentions there, because that's the key to having a great life as a gamekeeper, is listening, because he's having as much or more fun with the process. Look, they can't wait to make their monthly list.
Yeah.
They're having as much or more fun with the process than they are the killing.
Yeah.
And that's when you get there. So I would just encourage everybody that listens to pay attention to that word, the intentions of people that are successful in this. And then do it at your own pace.
They're disciplined enough to get it done.
Oh, absolutely,
too, so.
yeah.
It's a long-term thing, it just is. And I think the reason he's obviously been taught by his family and everybody before him, and instilled in him those long-term, management characteristics. So,
but he'll never be bored with life.
No, he sure won't.
Ever. Because I said this the other day, and it doesn't matter if you have a small tract. It's, again, if you have a list, I was, illustrating it. So, like, if you have a list of this many things, so maybe there's 10 on a list. It's like, I guarantee you by the time you get those done, it'll become 20 things
Yep.
or 15 things.
Yep.
And if you get those 15 things done, it'll always grow more than you originally, because the
It's
more you
exponential
do,
for sure.
the more you see that you need to
That
do,
you
or
need to
you
do.
find things that you want to do, and it never gets old.
And to that point, Toxie, we surround ourselves with quite a few wildlife biologists. We're big readers. We love a publication called Wildlife Trends.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They
Absolutely.
are the ones that got us onto that monthly list and the timeline. I highly recommend anybody listening to this podcast to hire a consultant, to work with a wildlife biologist. These are the guys that will take you from point A to point B. And this isn't anything that that I can just learn myself. I mean, I can listen to podcasts like I do all the time, and I can digest material but at the end of the day, our biologists that we are surrounded with, those are the guys that get the credit. No question about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And probably today, as we sit today, people have access to more people like what he's describing that can help than ever before.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, those are good points. So, Shawn, you ever watch our television show?
I do. I wish you would have asked me the trivia question you asked Caroline a couple weeks ago, because I was sitting in my car and I was like, oh, I got that one right.
Well, we got a trivia question for you.
Oh, don't worry about Bobby. He's going to,
Oh.
if he knew it was easy, he wouldn't ask you.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, before we move on, is there anything else around the gamekeeping? I've got one other thing I'd like to point out. I've had a guy tell me that his secret here in the South to finding sheds around some of his food plots, he'll identify like a sweet gum he wants to get rid of. And as the deer season winds down, he'll drop it in the plot and just leave it out there. So his clover's still going and still going. And he'll end up, so during the summer, he'll go in there and cut that up. And he told me just every time there'll be one or two antlers in that treetop where the deer were trying to get to that clover that couldn't be browsed.
And hit him on the
hit him and knock the antlers off. Yeah,
Huh, interesting.
Yeah. And he said that he's getting rid of the trees he wants to get rid of, doing that. So I thought that was an interesting. Have you ever heard of anybody doing that, Shawn?
I have not.
I was going to say, I bet not.
No, it's just a unique.
It makes
tip,
a lot of sense.
Oh, rat trap.
If you listen to this podcast, what a unique.
It's
little
almost
tip.
like a little exclusion cage. So the clover, you have all those branches and things falling over. The deer end up eating all the clover around it, and then they're like, "Oh man, there's a 6 inch tall clover in this treetop." Then they go to get that and get their antlers hung up.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of things. It sounds great till you have to go back in and clean it up.
I do hate a sweet gum now. I'm going to.
And I do hate a chainsaw in the summertime. So.
Yeah, it is. So look, why don't we spin this around? So Shawn, you better put your thinking cap on.
Here we go, baby.
You got a good cap on right now.
Today's trivia is brought to you by Sheffield Financial. Fuel your Gamekeeper projects with financing for power sports, outdoor power equipment, and trailers. Begin your next conservation adventure at SheffieldFinancial.com.
All right, so Shawn, you're playing for Brian 2.0, and the prize is a brand new Gamekeeper cat that we just got in. And
Gamekeeper
cat?
cat?
We're going to give the warehouse cat away?
yeah, a cap.
Oh, my bad.
So here it is, guys. We just got these in.
That's a good looking cap.
And you can go to the Gamekeeper. Where can you go, Mac, if you want to
Gamekeeper shop.
Gamekeepershop.com.
Yeah, so we have the merch. These
I like the muted colors in the crest.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
We did that on purpose.
That way I don't have to rub the front of my hat in mud next turkey season.
Shawn, I'm going to send you one of those.
So if you're not
Sounds
Brian 2.0, this would be a great hat for spring.
Yeah, Brian, you got a chance to get one.
Yep. All right, Shawn, here we go. All right, so today's question is about identifying a bird.
We're going to play some sounds for
He
you.
rolled his eyes. That's his weakness. Good.
We're doing audio? All right.
All right, no, but before you give a guess, we've got some. We can
narrow it down for you.
help
Okay.
him out.
let Mike narrow it down a little bit.
All right, so Bobby wrote this like it was on National Geographic. So if I stumble through this, please forgive me. Superbly camouflaged against the leaf litter, the brown molted blank walks slowly along the forest floor. Probably the soul with its long probing the soul with its long bill in search of earthworms. Unlike its coastal relatives, this plump little shorebird lives in young forest and shrubby old fields across eastern North America.
So he's ground dwelling.
Very camouflaged.
Got a probing kind of a bill.
Yeah.
Very camouflaged. Sounds like a frog.
I'd say either a snipe or a woodcock.
Hey,
There you go. Yeah.
Kills
That's
it.
the American woodcock.
There it is.
Yeah.
Dudley, you just returned from a trip and you said that they were everywhere.
Yeah, so we were headed home from Arkansas, last weekend, and roads were starting to ice up. This monstrous front was coming through. Geese everywhere, every kind of species you can imagine. But we started looking closely, and I honestly don't know if it was snipe or woodcock. I'm leaning towards woodcock. But, I mean, even in people's yards, there'd be like 40 of them hanging out. And then you would drive a mile down the road and look out in an ag field, and there'd be just a ton of them.
They're quite tasty, too.
And, probing into the ground.
Very,
very tasty.
And anyway, I need to get somebody to help me ID them. But I think they're woodcock.
It's an interesting bird. So did y'all know that sound that he makes?
I have heard it, yes.
You heard that?
I have heard it, but I didn't realize that's what it was.
So you learned something.
I did learn something today, Bobby. Thank you.
How about that? Mac, it's probing, not probbing.
Got you.
Yeah. We'll work on that later.
He probably thought you misspelled probably.
Yeah. Shawn, we've really enjoyed having you. And
Absolutely.
We're real impressed with what you're doing. Is there anything you want to that we didn't cover that you'd like to make sure we point out about what y'all are doing?
And for me, what's big is record keeping and data collection. I do it with everything from waterfowl to turkey to sheds and DMAP, everything in between. A lot of times you hear guys that say, "Hey, I need to do this or I need to do that." And if they would have kept some records, I think that that would have made a big difference in figuring out exactly what they need to do. And with sheds, back to sheds for a minute, that's one of the main reasons I know to start looking around February 15th. That's where we find, or the time when we start finding a lot of our sheds. I keep game cameras going year round, and I make sure that we don't go in there too early. And once I see that we have about 75% of bucks that have dropped their antlers, I swoop in and I bring my kids with me every chance I can. My son Julian just absolutely loves looking for antlers. I post probably one video too many every year with him finding them, but it just it does my heart good.
That's awesome.
I'm big into data collection and record keeping. I've got all sorts of different types of spreadsheets.
Do you keep observation data or just harvest data?
I do it all, observation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Cool.
You could take a Sharpie and write on a shed the day you found it, where you found it, and then you've got that information.
Put it in your filing cabinet.
Yeah, and it doesn't. Well, you can set it where you can go back and look at it later.
I'm trying to think of out of all my management and biologist heroes, that's one thing that they all have in common is they're obsessive about collecting and
data.
Yeah.
Managing data.
Yep.
Something I'm not very good at, but I'm going to try better.
I was going to say my word that comes to mind for listening to his whole story today is inspiration, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
I appreciate that.
The things that we have preached for so long, we've through our magazine, now through the podcast, through our television show, he's putting a lot of this stuff into practice.
I was going to say, practice. He practices what is preached.
Conservation in action. No doubt about it.
He's out there doing the things that we try to shine a light on.
And doing it as a weekend warrior at that. I mean, you've got a full-time job, and then you're managing this big farm with your family members on the side. And that's your release. That's your fun.
I bet y'all can't wait to get down there every weekend.
Exactly right. We're chomping at the bit.
I bet so.
I can't wait to get down there.
I know you can't. I knew it was coming, Shawn.
Yeah.
Knew it was coming.
Did you just invite yourself?
I think you did.
I think I may have heard that.
Yeah. Well, look, we've enjoyed it. Is there anything else we need to cover before we get out of here today?
You know Chuck Lavelle?
I don't. I know of him.
Okay.
But I don't know him personally.
His place is in Georgia, somewhere around Macon, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got a place. It's near Macon.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny you say that, Dudley, because that's what I used to do for 10 years. I'm a guitar player through and through, and
Wow.
my brother and I have been in bands, and we were in a pretty serious band for 5 years called Sound Culture, and we played rock shows. We played big festivals like Sweetwater 420 Festival here in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
I've been to that one.
I think I've been to that
I've been
one
to
too.
Sweetwater.
Hey, I mean,
Yeah.
can I be your agent to go see Dos Equis and do a commercial for him?
Sounds good.
You kind of look like a rock and roll kind of guy.
Oh man, we had fun, but when I had my second kid, it's not really the life for a 1 and a 3-year-old at the time.
I could imagine.
It was difficult, and it just happened to be that our lead singer moved out to Salt Lake City, and he got a job. He was an architect, and he got a once in a lifetime job out there. So we all kind of just gave each other a big hug and said, "Hey, hopefully this is just a hiatus, and we'll get back to playing music again someday." And we still all see each other several times a year, so we keep the music flowing, but we don't play live shows anymore.
Wow.
Very cool.
What a great story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Man, it's been a rough week. I hope, we just heard stories about people with pipes bursting all across the South, and we're not used to this kind of weather.
No, actually been some fatalities from the cold weather. So our prayers out to people that are struggling with it. It's rough.
No doubt about it.
I'm praying for all those pets.
Take care of your pets too.
Inhumane people leave their pets outside in weather like this. It makes me sick.
Yeah, it does.
So-
Mac, you got anything to add? Richie, you hadn't heard from you today. You got anything to add to what we're going on that will enhance the program?
Enhance? I don't think so.
Okay. Well, guys, the winter issue is it probably is in your mailbox right now.
All right.
I should have said that a couple of weeks ago, but I'm looking at one right now, and it's got this great big buck standing in
Imagine that, a big buck on
some
the cover.
soybeans. So that's a good one. So you can go to Tractor. If you don't have it, you can go to Tractor Supply, Walmart, and pick that thing up. So, Shawn, we enjoyed having you.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Flint River Plantation. You can follow you on Instagram at Flint River Plantation, and man, it's really interesting what you guys do.
Yeah, it is.
I sure do appreciate it, guys. I'm happy to be here and definitely appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your time and for your inspiration.
No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm wearing that
100%.
Bottomland hat. I like
telling you.
that.
That's right.
Well, we see a lot of Bottomland on his pages over there. So
We need to hang out sometime. We don't have to come to your place, but
He may be too busy to come see us.
if you go to the NWTF, come see us.
Yeah.
I was planning on making the trip over there, but with all this weather, it was too risky. Who knows if I would have gotten stranded somewhere or whatnot, but sure would have loved to meet you guys in person. I listened to every single one of the Gamekeeper podcasts, and to Toxie's point earlier, this is you guys are the ones that got me to this point. And I share your episodes all the time, especially with my dad and with our farm managers, making sure we're all on the same page. And you guys just keep doing what you're doing. I'm so thankful for media outlets and folks like you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that might be the nicest thing anybody's ever said to
It
us.
does. It means a lot to us, Shawn. We appreciate it. Guys, looking around, if nobody else has anything to say, why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Thanks, Shawn, and goodbye, Dudley.
Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.